dawn she finds her peace, digging soil leaves in the breeze. Beehives of one sweet golden tree. She feels complete. Her garden grows with colors bright. Tomatoes, red, and herbs take flight. Pickled jars of summer's delight, preserving truth in every bite. Live with love for earth's embrace, steward of this sacred place. Every seed and leaf she tends, a circle that never ends.
Hey friends, it is mid-January and I'm so excited to get out here in the greenhouse. I want to start some onion seeds today. I need to clean things up a little bit. It's a bit of a mess in here. I got to do an aphid check just to make sure that I don't have any aphids. I've been trying to really stay on top of things this year. Being my first full year really of having the greenhouse, I didn't realize how big of a problem that aphids were going to be. And they really did prove challenging. I had to remove large groups of plants from time to time when it got overinfested. So I'm determined this year, anytime I see an aphid, is to kill it immediately. And that way it can't get a foothold. The ants are not aiding them or farming them right now at this point. And so that's good. That's in my favor. But that won't last very long. As soon as things warm up here in probably the next month, the next 6 weeks or so, I expect to see the ants farming out the aphids. The aphids suck the sap out of plants, the sugary fluid in plants, and the ants will consume the aphids' waste product called honeydew. It's a sticky, sugary excrement that they seem to enjoy, and so they literally do farm the aphids. Aphids don't have wings until they get adults. They go through several molts, and so once they can't really move around until they get the wings, until they are adults. And during that juvenile period, the ants will deposit them all over different plants in the greenhouse. Once they fully mature, they'll get wings and they can fly around on their own. So on this little lettuce right here, you can see there's an adult with wings. You can see some of the exoskeletons that they shed, that they molted. So this is a prime example of what I want to kill right away. Make sure there's nothing on there. Oh, there's some on the back of this. Sometimes I don't see them, I just see their little exoskeleton. Oh, there's one. See, it's really important to flip the leaves over from what Right now I'm just trying to go through and find any aphids at all, and I'll kill them. When it's sunny like this, it's helpful because you can see the back sides of the leaves. All it takes is one aphid per plant, where they don't need a male to reproduce. I don't know if all species are that way, but I think they are. And so I'm trying these yellow sticky traps. That helped a lot last year. You can see 2 or 3 adults right there. So notice that sticky substance right there. That's the honeydew that the ants are after. For today, I am just going to clean up this mess of a potting bench behind me. It is full of just half-finished projects that I did last year, so I'm going to clean that up so that I can start some seeds. So that's what's on the agenda today. Get this mess of a potting bench cleaned up. My compost is dried out. I'll have to moisten that for starting seeds. I've been using my compost as seed starting mix for the last few years, and I've had really good results. So today I'm going to start some allium seeds. It's mid-January here in Ohio, and that's about the time I like to get things started. I've got a variety of, I have leeks, some seeds that I saved several years ago. I also have several varieties of onions and shallots and a few scallions too. So I'm going to get as much as I can going in this flat. Now these are leeks that I saved from back in 2020. It's almost 5 years ago now. I'm going to sow them pretty heavily. I'll just probably use this entire pack. Got Patterson. This is a great storage onion. These are shallots called Figaro. We have red globe onion. And we have Walla Walla. And then 2 different types of scallions I'll put together in this one here. What I like to do is just make sure that is pressed down in there. Because these seeds are old, I'm going to seed them heavily. Actually, all of these are old. And onion seeds don't tend to last too long. And I'll just cover them lightly. I'll just cover them lightly with the compost. They only need to be planted about 1/8 of an inch. Just barely covered. Just give them a little press down. Some Walla Walla. Give everything a press down. Make sure it's fully in contact with the compost. And another handful to cover them up. Just cover them up. Vermiculite helps maintain moisture. And in my case, at least, I found it also helps to prevent the growth of algae on top, that layer of green that you might get after a little while. And I think it also deters any pests that might be in here in the greenhouse too. But it still lets enough light in. I just give everything a spritz down with water. And then I'll give everything a drink from below. And so the compost will just act like a wick and soak that up. And although it does stay fairly humid here in the greenhouse, I will add a humidity dome. In this tray, I want to start some herbs. Doing fennel here. Doing dill in this one. 2 different kinds of thyme. Cilantro. And basil. And a variety of basils. And simple stuff here. Just refer to the seed packet to see how deep to plant them. These are just 1/8 of an inch deep. Most of these are going to be that. Fennel is going to be a little bit deeper. Fennel is a larger seed. The typical rule is to plant the seeds 2 to 3 times its width in depth. And so this one here will go a little deeper. So I'm just going to put a few in each one. Let me give them a little press in. A little bit of compost on top. So I've been using compost as seed starting mix for the last few years, and it works pretty well. Saves a lot of money. So thyme is much smaller, the seeds, and so these are to be planted just 1/8 of an inch deep. I just like to sprinkle them on the surface. I can either thin them or separate and transplant them later. At this point, this takes up a lot less space and a lot less resources and time to take care of, and a very thin layer of compost on top. Dill is supposed to be planted 1/4 inch deep. I've got some dill in the bed behind me, but I want some to plant out in the garden as well. It is very quick to bolt, so it's good to have backups. It doesn't tolerate the heat very long before it sends up a flower stalk. Now cilantro. So each one of these has multiple seeds inside, and you can soak them and split them, but I just put them all in. These are bigger, going to be a little deeper, and I like to sow very heavily. Tend to plant cilantro in groups rather than individual plants. And that way you can harvest plenty at one time. These I just like to have 1 or 2 of each. I'll do some in the beds and probably some in containers. They're very pretty. Vermiculite. I just like to give everything a spritz of water to settle it in. And then the way I usually water flats is also just give them water from below. And that way you don't really dislodge anything. And I just use a humidity dome.
Live with love for